I'm Natalia Bonner. Welcome back to the 9 Patchalong 4.0. This is block number 5. I cannot believe we're already halfway through this awesome stitch along. I love the 9 Patchalong every year, but because we get to use my brand new sway rulers this year, I'm just so dang excited. So I tell you all the time, I love heavy quilting. Some people think that I overquilt everything. I don't think you can overquilt anything, but sometimes I do have to remind myself less is more. You know, maybe you're quilting a simple patchwork quilt and you just want a more simplistic design, or even a simple 9 patch like we're doing here, and you want something more simplistic. Today's block will be perfect for you. We're going to be using the Sway 5 machine quilting ruler to quilt out this fun block. You can order your Sway machine quilting rulers exclusively through our website, peaceandquilt.com. Today I'll be doing all of my stitching here on my Gamble 22-inch machine. I will be stitching in the stitch regulated mode, and I do have my stitch length set at 13 stitches per inch. I love to use So Fine thread, so on my top I'm going to be using So Fine color number 462. It's actually a real fun pink thread. That's what I'm using throughout my whole quilt. I wanted my quilting to really just kind of pop a little bit. We do have this thread. We also have these new Super Bob pre-wound bobbins, which I'll be using here on my bobbin, also available on our website, peaceandquilt.com. Let's hop over to our machines and let's get stitching. By now, you should be feeling pretty comfortable finding the center of these 9 patch blocks and using the Mark Be Gone marker to mark an X right there. Moving on to block number 5, we're going to repeat that same process. And honestly, with a lot of my machine quilting, I do find the center and mark the center there. I love to use our Peace and Quilt misting spray bottles to mist away my marked lines once my quilting is complete. Now, I love instant gratification as much as anybody else, so at this point I would go through block number 4, mist away all those lines really good. Then as I'm quilting here on block number 5, I can start to see, as that block dries, my really awesome quilting coming to life. Sometimes those lines will sink down into my batting, and as my quilt dries, they seem to come back up. So I'll continue just misting and getting that marked line wet until the markings are gone completely. This may even mean, if you mark heavy lines, that you might have to soak the quilt in water or even wash it and let it air dry. Just make sure that you do not apply any heat at all to the Mark Be Gone lines until you know they have been removed completely. So on this block, now I have those X's marked through the center, and I've also gone through and marked that increment every center along the horizontal and vertical seams. So those are my reference points, but because I'm going to quilt these fun wavy lines, I actually want to mark out my full design before I begin quilting, just so I don't confuse myself. On all of the Sway machine quilting rulers, that hook end of the ruler is designed for marking. So do not use this hook end for quilting. Okay, you could use it for quilting, but you're not going to end up with a true 5-inch curve. So as you can see here, I'm using that hook end of the ruler. I'm starting in my bottom left corner and marking my first curve. I'm marking a point-to-point curve from those lines that I've marked through the center of each of my ditches. Now I'll move on and I'm going to repeat that process, marking those point-to-point curved lines. This is the part where it gets really important. As you look through the center, let's say here through the center of my green blocks, looking across, through the center there is a convex curve that points to another convex curve across the block. And then moving on to the pink blocks, it's the same. So it's almost like I'm creating kind of a snaky looking pattern, moving through from center point to center point. Once I have all of those markings through this block complete, now I'm ready to begin stitching. I'm going to be using, again, that Sway 5 machine quilting ruler. So I want to make sure I use the same ruler that I used for markings. Now I'm switching and I'm using the circular end of the ruler and also that concave curve on my ruler to stitch those point-to-point curves. So I'll start in the corner on that first green block. Then I'll travel up my ditch. Then as I move to my pink block, I'll use the circular end to quilt my first curve. Then I'm going to switch to the concave end to stitch my second curve. And my third curve into that third pink block is going to be with the circle end of the ruler. Now from there, I'll travel along my ditch and I'm going to just continue repeating that process. So starting with the green block, I'll use the curved end on the Sway 5, stop with my needle in the down position, readjust my ruler. Remember to hold your ruler 1/4 of an inch away from where you want your thread to intersect. And then working back and forth between the concave side of the ruler and the curved end of the ruler. Now I'll repeat that process until I have quilted on each of those marked lines. I could leave this design just like that. I love how it turned out, but just to add to my love of a little bit heavier quilting, I will go through and use that straight side on the Sway 5 machine quilting ruler, hold the ruler 1/4 of an inch away from my ditch, stitch along my ditch, and then as I need to, I'll reposition my machine quilting ruler. I love block number 5. Next, we get to move on to block number 6. In block number 6, we're going to be using similar concepts, but we're going to dress it up.